Okay, guys, so I guess this video is going to be all about writing topic sentences because I am suspecting some of you guys are still a little bit confused about topic sentences, and so as a result of that, I feel that I want to clarify some things for you. Okay, let's start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with one of the quotes from the essay I've been working on with when I'm talking about this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with one of these quotes that I've been working with from Catcher in the Rye, and so basically, starting off with my quote, because that's where we always start off with, right? We have our quote, and to kind of just recap, the thesis is about here. This is their thesis. Holden as a child is afraid of his inevitable future, but also he is curious about growing older. However, though Holden fakes being a grown-up, the violence in his life acts as a strong symbolic force of his inevitable march onto adulthood. Okay? So, looking at this is the quote. I have to think about what am I going to argue with this quote. Okay? Here's the quote. It's really ironical because I'm 6'2.5" and I have gray hair. I really do, and yet I still act sometimes like I was only 12 years old. So, what I think this quote is means that Holden, though he looks older and even probably tries to be older, he still acts like a little kid. Okay, so I'm gonna just say that right now. Holden, though he looks older and maybe even acts older, he still he may look older, I'm going to cut this out, he still acts young. Okay? Simple sentence. Pretty simple. It doesn't have to be too robust. But Holden, though he looks older, oops, I'm going to put a comma here. Holden, though he looks older, he still acts young. Very simple, to the point, and that's kind of what that's what I feel like this quote argues, okay? So let me go back up to my thesis and make sure my argument is grounded in my thesis. So I'm going to read my thesis again. Holden, as a child, is afraid of his inevitable future, but also he is curious about growing older. However, though Holden fakes being a grown-up, the violence in his life acts as a strong symbolic force of his inevitable march onto adulthood. Now, let me think here. What do I think this quote is really saying? Okay? It's really ironical because I'm 6'2.5" and I have gray hair. I really do. And yet I still act sometimes like I was only 12 years old. So clearly he is kind of, I wouldn't say he is kind of a bit faking it, but he's also, there's something not genuine about Holden right now. And he's stuck between this being older and younger. Okay, so I think this would be, I would say something maybe to this extent, that Holden fakes being being a grown-up. But I wouldn't even say he fakes being a grown-up. But I would say though Holden struggles, though I wouldn't even say struggles because that's a strong word, straddles between being a grown-up and a child. Great. So this is exactly what I want to argue right here. Though Holden straddles between being a grown-up and a child. And that's what I'm going to say here. Although Holden looks older, he still acts young. Straddling between being youthful and old and an adult. Being a youth and adult. Youth and an adult. Great. So that's a pretty good one. I think it's pretty solid topic sentence, and it refers back to my thesis. However, what I have been noticing, and this is something I don't want you guys to do, so I'm going to write this in red here. Something I don't want you to do is talk about life in general or some kind of generalities. For example, people find ways to find themselves caught between childhood and adulthood. Now, this is problematic for multiple reasons. One, we're just talking about people. Nothing terribly specific here. All right? So, so because we're just not talking, we're talking about people in general and not the text, right? Like Holden, what happens is our topic sentence is not really saying anything. It's not making any point about our argument, okay? Remember, your topic sentence should always refer to, so maybe I'll say that right down here, I'll write it right here. Your argument, you meant, should have, 1, it should mention the text being used, and then 2, it should argue exactly what you are going to, actually, I'm going to switch my verbs here. It should state exactly what you are going to argue. So when I look down here and I check my topic sentence, Holden, immediately I know I'm talking about the book, so I have already met the first requirement. So Holden, though he looks older, he still acts young, thus straddling between being a youth and an adult. Okay, that's kind of what I'm arguing. That's exactly what I'm arguing, okay? So once again, I don't want to see your first sentence in every paragraph to be very general, like this statement, right? It should mention the text, and it should be exactly what you're arguing, right? All right. And if you really want to be a little bit more in-depth with your analysis, this is okay. This is not going to be a college-worthy topic sentence or even an argument because it's kind of stating the obvious. However, if you really want to get into deeper depth here, you could look at the some of the word choices here and seeing what it really means, okay? So, for example, we know that Holden is aware that he is, it's a bit ironic, right? And he associates the 6'2" and a half with being older and gray hair. He also has gray hair. So his biology is already, right here, we already see his biological features are way ahead of his peers, right? He's tall and he has gray hair. So his biology is already thrusting him into the adult world, even though his probably his brain is still his brain still hasn't quite fully developed, and he acts like a 12-year-old. Okay, so what we can do if you want to make this an extra, like an A+ kind of a topic sentence, you can mention this biology issue, right? Holden's biology hurdles, let's keep a nice cool verb here, hurdles him into adulthood. However, his brain, his behavior still lapses into childhood, thus showing that Holden straddles childhood and adulthood. I would even say that showing that Holden, without his control, straddles childhood and adulthood. Okay? So that's a little bit more specific, and it mentions a little bit more about the quote itself. Okay? So review. So your topic sentence should be the first sentence within your paragraph, and it should mention the text, and it should state exactly what you are going to argue in the paragraph, okay? No general statements right here. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully it helped you a little bit, okay? Toodles.